We are covering legal and medical cannabis in this hour. So if you'd like to get up to speed, we're going to talk about it here in the next hour. 4:20, we have Chris Howell, ND Vets for Safe Access. He'll be in here to talk about the vets and how easy they have it for the medical and how hard they may have it. So we're going to get right into a song here. My daughter, checking in from Standing Rock Educational System, wants to hear this song. So I'm going to go ahead and get it queued up. All These Things That I've Done by The Killers. And that was The Killers, All These Things That I've Done. Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I'm Wilson. We're right after the 4 o'clock hour here. What's going on with cannabis? A lot. We've got a meeting directly after here, Tochi Products, from 5 to 6. Tomorrow we'll be in the mall. That's a fun one, from noon to 7. We'll be in there. We'll have bracelets. We'll just be there to answer any questions, but mostly we'll want you to sign the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act. It's a constitutional measure. It's what's for breakfast, 21 plus, home grow up to 12 plants, private possession and consume. All cannabis businesses require licensing. Straight up and down. And 4:20, we're going to talk to Chris Howell, the ND Vets for Safe Access. So we're going to find out what the dealio is with the holdup for vets getting the access they need for cannabis, which, like him and I were just talking about how much kind of progress is happening all over. Like in Alabama, there's this guy that, actually it's Missouri. January 1st, they started the medical plan. All right, but there's no dispensaries yet in Missouri. So this dude, he gets pulled over. He's got stuff on him. They take him to jail. Then he goes to court, and they drop the charges because even though, there wasn't a dispensary, he still had a medical card. So it's like, well, where did he get it? He obviously got it from the black market, but they legally, decided you could have a medical program. It started January 1st. So to me, that's the first time that's ever been challenged, because like Measure 3, if that would have passed, well, then January 1st, boom, it would have happened no matter what, but usually we the people, we just don't even know how to get it started, really. So we just depend on, a politician to get it rolling, but in Missouri, this guy actually said, okay, it's January 1st. I applied for the medical card. I got it. I can legally consume. I'm going to start consuming. But there was no dispensary for him to get. But, January 1st, they should have had it available. So like Lisa and I was saying, they didn't expect it to pass. We're seeing that a lot in kind of like those, backwoods states, like Kansas, Dakotas, Kentucky, and that's another thing. Kentucky, two vets just stuck a proposal up, and it's just like I said, everything's happening pro-cannabis, we're picking up speed, and I wish North Dakota would do that as well. And so we'll talk to him and talk about what's getting better, what still needs worked on with the vets. And it's kind of a personal thing because I've got a brother and a dad, both with PTSD, one a Vietnam vet and the other like the Afghanistan war. So it's really close to my heart because I think if they tell me it makes them better and we say we support the troops, then why aren't they should have it immediately. They should just get it right now, they risk their lives. Let's take care of them, because if you say you're gonna and they say this helps and you say, well, no, not that, well, then you should take your sticker and your magnet down as far as I'm concerned. But and that's just me. So again, ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act directly after here, Tochi, 5 to 6, and then at the mall tomorrow, noon to 7. And I'm going to play a couple ditties here. Strap in and we'll see you on the other side of this. All right, sitting on the dock of the bay, Otis Redding. Thank you, Otis. And anyway, we're back here. I got Chris Howell from ND Vets for Safe Access. I got him plugged in here. Can you hear me, buddy?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Oh,
Wilson.
Man. Yeah, you got a nice voice. So tell me, what does it mean to you to get vets easier access to cannabis?
Well, it's going to give veterans access to the life-saving medication other than, as a replacement for dangerous benzodiazepines and opiates that we're prescribed to, especially those with significant disabilities, at really high rates.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and you're right about that because my dad recently, they put him on trazodone. He's a vet. And I thought, trazodone or cannabis? It just, to me, isn't it crazy in our now day and time that Depakote sounds way worse than a plant that grows? When he tells me he's on Depakote, I'm like, ooh.
Well, that's
horrible.
That's not even the worst drugs that people are on. I mean, your trazodone and Depakote, don't get me wrong, those are some powerful things. But I mean, there's guys that are on Xanax, gabapentin, and very large doses of this stuff, Neurontin, different things like that. Like they put it in the PTSD cocktail, but it's like anti-seizure medications. So these guys are getting just nasty chemicals that are building up in your bodies, and you progressively just have to take more and more and more until you're at almost a lethal dose for what would be a normal person. So instead, why don't we just let these guys have access to cannabis, which is safer, where there has been no overdoses ever,
right,
but where the medications that are prescribed by the VA, there's lots of overdoses, and also lots of the medications that are prescribed for psychiatric stuff, like the second and third side effect is literally suicide. So, but with cannabis, the side effects are you smoke too much, you took a nap.
Right, which you probably, wouldn't bother. I mean, wouldn't hurt the body at all to take a nap every once in a while. It's like not the worst side effect. Like I took a nap, and it's funny because I'll see people in the mall, like this one lady, she's 80-some years old. She was one of the first 5 people to get a medical card, and she gets dressed every day, new clothes, comes down there, chipper. She knows what time it is. She knows what the day is. She's happy to be alive, And before that, when she was taking all those other meds, she didn't even leave her house. She couldn't. I mean, she was almost debilitated for what? To help her do what? So for me, it was like night and day. I've seen a person on, a bunch of psychotropic meds, and then I've seen a lady, on cannabis now show up at a mall, be social, leave her house.
It allows people lots of the social anxiety issues too that especially veterans with combat-related PTSD have.
Exactly.
Like hearing somebody talk behind you, you have to be the person in the back corner of the room. You have to know where all the exits are and stuff like that. But when, you get that anxiety crank up going on, if you just smoke a little cannabis before or eat it or however you consume it, get it in your body before whatever that event is that has that big social construct around it where there's lots of noises and side things going on.
Exactly.
It allows you to relax and just enjoy the environment. I have a guy that he couldn't go to his son's football games until he had cannabis, and now he eats some oil before about half hour before the game is, and he can sit in the stands next to his wife and enjoy the show.
Right. Yeah. Quality of life, and that's what I'm saying. We got it backwards, where cannabis was this evil thing. And then everything that was prescribed to you was the only option and only way to go, but then somebody was benefiting from the prescribed meds. At some point, I almost need you to have the pills. I mean, there's a budget, there's a bottom line. I mean, we're looking at the numbers. How many pills were prescribed a day? It just seems like a selfish, kind of respectful way to approach a sensitive issue with somebody who did so much and you did so little.
So to take off on that argument, basically the biggest issue I have with that is that we go and we put our lives on the line to provide freedom for everybody that's here. Because and then from that, then I'm going to come home and you're going to tell me that I can't have something that makes me better and makes takes the edge off. It doesn't make the pain go away, but it takes the edge off enough that you can live through your day and not be in a clousy haze from opiates and benzos.
Yeah. And by the way, thanks for your service. Just let me get that in there quick. But yeah, like I said, nobody just goes over and fights a war. And if you haven't been in their shoes, how dare you suggest that they aren't right?
Well, it's just one of those things of I believe that I should have the right to choose what medication works best for me. I know me best, right?
Right.
So like you trust me with a gun or a drone or a plane or a tank.
Right.
But you're not going to trust me with choosing to take a medication that doesn't have nasty side effects.
Right. It's exasperating. And so then we've got legislators, even now, I'm kind of getting, especially now that we're getting closer to election period, it's like I'm hearing them talk a lot less, I'm just saying, hey, well, we'll bide our time and then we'll get you out of there. It's like I don't want to listen to them anymore. It's like they've taken too much time. It's like, what are they waiting on? What are they waiting for?
Well, that lots of the legislator stuff are even here in North Dakota, our lots of our legislators are owned by special interest groups, whether it's pharmaceuticals, oil,
that lobbying thing.
Yeah, man, and it's kind of out of control. Even at the state level, it's pretty ridiculous. To where, the Better Business Commission, which is really only a board of 5 guys who are all over 65 who own $1 million companies. Well, they don't want to have people have access to cannabis because then it'll screw up with their insurance ratings because of the federal law.
Right.
So it's just stuff like that, man, and it's the crookedness goes way deep.
Yeah, no, I believe you. And here's the thing I always wish for North Dakota. Like, everybody goes, well, we're always behind the times a little bit. And it's like, well, how come we couldn't be ahead of the times for once? Because everybody's legalizing it. It's happening like right and left. And here we're going to be the last state again. And selfishly, I'd like to think that they would deal with me right away because I'm important. But troops, especially disabled combat vets, still are waiting in a state because we're behind the times. It's just horrible. Well,
that's even the more ridiculous part about that is, I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole if you'd like. So speaking of the vets with the program in the state, there's guys who still can't get access using the veterans exemption that was put in. Thank you, Steve Vetter and Secretary Yeager for suggesting that and getting it through. It was all well intentioned, but the problem is now with Jason Wall, the head of the medical marijuana department,
right.
He likes to use things that aren't expressly stated in the law and interpret it in a way that's more restrictive, in my experience of dealing with other vets. So for guys who've been denied and stuff like that.
So the hold up in getting vets access is all about money, you're saying?
No, it's actually so the medical marijuana program has dictated that you essentially have to have seen in a VA facility for your qualifying condition in the past 12 months.
Okay.
So not just gone in and gotten a physical, right? You have to let's say you're being seen for neuropathy in your back, right? So you would have to have gone in and seen a physical therapist, a chiropractor, or an orthopedic specialist, or a pain management specialist, one of those people in the past year in order to qualify for the exemption.
Right.
So this is especially difficult for veterans who have psychiatric issues.
Sure.
Especially PTSD.
Right.
And especially the vets who have been committed to psychiatric facilities against their will.
Oh.
So I mean, now it's a small segment of vets who this falls under. It's a very, very small group, but it's the group that need the most help. And we, as veterans, take care of those who were there with us. We don't leave each other behind. We don't do it. And if one of us is failing, the system's failing all of us.
I believe you. Yep, I'm with you. Yeah, and I even looked, and you probably know this too, that Italy finally passed a law where medical patients don't have to pay for cannabis.
Yeah, that's another thing too. That the price is another thing altogether that in the state of North Dakota that's crushing guys. So let's say you're one of the 65 vets who have access to the program.
Okay.
Which with the exemption, there's only 65 vets in the whole program, which is
it's ridiculous.
Blows my mind. But so the reason that is twofold. One is the gun and hunting rights thing, and the past legislative session when they tried to when Kim Koppelman tried to get a bill through that released the names of everybody in the medical program to the ATF. That scared a lot of vets from getting their cards.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be on more lists.
No.
So it's one of those things. And then, let's say you do get access to the program. You've decided that you want to give up your hunting rights in order to get access to medical cannabis.
Okay.
So lots of vets like to hunt and things like that.
Well, right. Kind of makes sense.
Well, yeah, we're good at it.
Yeah. You bring the deer back. One shot in the eyes.
There you go, buddy. And then and then on top of that, it's the cost, man. The cost in the program is just insanity.
I know. And so to me, it's like, well, you don't care to help these people. That's what I'm saying. And that just, it kind of keeps me up. It really burns my butt that we've entrusted these guys with our safety, but yet we don't care enough to do what they're asking for to make them better.
Well, let's just talk about the price for a second. I'll throw the numbers out there just so you can have an idea. So let's say you're a normal medical cannabis patient. You have your 3 ounces and 4 grams of concentrate, right?
Okay.
So let's say you do this the most efficient way possible to get the most bang for your buck, which means you get RSO oil. So you end up getting about 4 or 5 syringes of that. So that's $500. And then you end up you get your 3 ounces of flour.
Okay.
So that's $1,200. So it's $1,700 a month for you with the vet discount. That's including the vet discount. So if you're on VA disability, which unless you're at the 100% disabled rate, which isn't a whole lot of guys, your VA disability caps out at $2,000 a month is what it caps out at. Unless you're at the 100%, which I mean, that's not the most easy thing to get to, and you got to be pretty messed up to get there. But so at 20%, say you're a 90% disabled vet, you get $2,000 a month. And then that's if you have dependents too. Okay. So then you pay for your medicine. Now you have $300 left. So your singular source of income
goes all to that.
You're spending 90% of your income to do the thing that makes you feel better. It's ridiculous. And then on top of that, the quality of the products ain't that great either.
Well, that's another thing I was going to mention. We had Leslie, Committee for Compassionate Care, a couple weeks ago, and she brought up something that still kind of gets in my head about the bud tenders in town here. She's seen a wanted ad, like no experience needed, to come in and tell you what strain that they think you should use. You don't even need stinking experience to get a job at the dispensary.
Well, that's even so the dispensary thing is even more ridiculous. So the way the law is written, one, you can't smell the product prior to purchase. You can't actually see the flower you're buying prior to purchase.
You can't?
Nope. You get a look at, when you go in there, you get a look at this little case. They have these 3 rows of glass cases, and when you walk in, there's rows of, the first thing is basically ways for you to consume, whether it's vape pens or pipes or grinders and all those kind of things. That's in the first case. The second case shows like some pre-rolls and waxes, and then the next 3 lines of stuff are the flowers they have.
Okay.
And that's it. So, and you have to look at them through a glass case on a little plate. Like, you can't even smell it. You can't pick it up and look at it. There's not a whole lot you can do.
So is there information next to the product, or is the bud tender having to tell you everything about each thing?
Well, I mean, it just says, here's the strain and here's your THC and CBD. That's it.
But not what it would work for, like an indica. You wouldn't want an indica for your daytime use.
It depends on the person, actually. So that's the other thing, that the indica sativa argument, there is... It's validity in about 70% of the cases.
Okay.
What the real validity is that indicas and sativas produce different terpenes when they're grown. So it's the terpene profile. It's not necessarily whether it's an indica or sativa is what you actually get the real medical benefits, especially for either neuropathy or psychiatric disorders.
Right. You're saying certain terps just happen to be in those particular strains.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And those are the terpenes that work best for certain conditions, whether it's pain management, neuropathy, PTSD, sleep disorders, autism. I mean, whatever. Right. So it'd be nice to have a guy, though, in that dispensary that kind of understood that, but apparently you don't need any experience in North Dakota to work as a bud tender. Well, in the dispensaries, though, they do have a pharmacist on staff.
Oh.
So they do have that, for an example. Now, I happen to know the pharmacist here in the botanist in Fargo. He is very knowledgeable. I don't know how the other 7 are.
Huh.
Because I've sat down and had a pretty long, in-depth conversation with him about how to help specifically veterans for either pain management or PTSD night terrors.
Right.
And what things have, because I've done a lot of research into this. And I know ones, in generalities, because all the guys I work with, I know which ones work better and which don't, and which ones are straight stay away from.
Right. Because that's the thing to me is like, well, experience. If ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act passed, and then you were able to recreationally experience and learn about cannabis and the terpenes and everything, then you would be more eligible to help the customer.
So if the Freedom of Cannabis Act passes, it's quite simply this. Us veterans will grow the strains that we need. So the dispensaries right now are not getting the strains from the growers that are actually good for PTSD or pain management because they're not high-yielding plants, therefore there's no profit in it. So this goes back to let us grow our own medicine.
Absolutely.
So if you would let me grow it, and then great, okay. So let's say I'm the experienced vet grower. I come in from Washington State, where I've been growing for 5 years now.
Okay.
So I know what I'm doing, right? Me as a vet, I will gladly make a mother plant and give clones out to other vets. That I know all you got to do, guys, now at this point is just follow the process and trim it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So you would have growers who, because in the vet community, we help each other like nobody else does. And with that, and then we just, from that, you'd need, and then you have another guy that figures out, all right, this is how you guys make oils. This is how you make concentrates. This is how you make dabs. This is how you do it safely.
That's awesome.
and you'd be able to have the strains and the oil profiles and stuff like that for the disorders that treat best for us. The fact of the matter that you can't get strains like Good Medicine and White Widow in North Dakota for vets is absolutely ridiculous. White Widow is hands down the best treatment for night terror PTSD. The terpene profile is literally perfect for it.
That's beautiful. But yet you can't get White Widow
in the state. They don't grow it anywhere in the state.
So you can't get it. You as a medical card holder telling me what you just told me can't get what helps you best.
Yep.
See, that's just
but I can drive to Colorado and go buy 7 pounds of it.
Well, see, that's what I'm saying. And if you were a Canadian,
just go across the border.
You could just do that. If you lived in Illinois, you could just pay a buttload of taxes and get it there, So it's almost like what I have a problem with is geographical distance on a morality issue.
Well, Illinois, you're talking about the difference between also their recreational prices are high. Their medical prices are not.
Oh, well, that's cool. Yeah, I don't think that was something I knew, and that's actually cool now that I think about it.
So that's the thing here, right? So states that actually have effective medical programs, ounces do not ever cost more than $175. They don't. So effective medical programs, the most expensive ones are half and then some. So like about 60% less than what North Dakota prices are.
Yeah,
it's just crazy. That's in like Massachusetts, New York, stuff like that. Where if you look at places like California, you go to a dispensary as a medical card holder and as a veteran, you could pay $20 for an ounce of way better quality product than you're ever going to find in North Dakota right now.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. It's like we shouldn't be behind the times when it comes to protecting and making sure our vets are as healthy as possible. To me, it's like we're really shooting ourselves in the foot, or they are, when we just don't. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's acknowledged. Like I feel like I'm not loud enough. Maybe I need to be loud enough. But we've been very vocal about what we think about it. Certainly, vets getting access to cannabis, and we have other states where it's happening. There's programs in Italy. You don't even have to pay for medical cannabis. So North Dakota needs to wake up for the sake of our veterans. And it just drives me crazy that it doesn't happen.
Ireland also has something along those lines where it's the prices are really low, if not covered by the medical program.
Right. Because we got to look. So that's the thing. The bottom line with the money, and we're going to take a quick break here, and then we'll come back and chat a little more. I'm with Chris Howell, ND Vets for Safe Access, and we're going to take a little break, and we'll be right back with a little more talking. And we're back. First was The Rain, Super Duper Fly, Missy Elliott. Then Mahalia by Sun Little. That's a new Sun Little. I'm here with Chris Howell, ND Vets for Safe Access. We're going to talk a little bit more here, and then we're going to wrap up Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. I just wanted to mention ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act is a constitutional measure. It's going to be voted on in the general. 26,000 plus we need. We're about halfway there, so we need to mount up and get busy. We got a meeting right after this from 5 to 6 at Tochi Products. Come get involved. Then bring your sweetheart tomorrow. We're going to be at the mall, noon to 7. Come through, sign the petition, and do your part to see that vets can get easy access, because apparently legislators don't care about that. And we're going to talk about the cost of being a vet trying to medicate and how ridiculous it is when it should be a whole lot easier. So you said $1,700 a month just for cannabis medicine.
Yeah, so
is what they think is reasonable, right? The legislators thinks that's reasonable.
So here's what it is. So if you are one of the fortunate veterans who have access to the program, which is about 65 guys now and gals, I just know it's 65 veterans. They won't tell you any more information than that.
Okay.
But that's fine. It's HIPAA protected. I expect as much, and I actually appreciate that part of the program.
All right. Yeah.
So basically, what it boils down to, if you're buying medical cannabis from the dispensaries with the veteran discount, which is only 10% off of the cost, so it basically just covers the state taxes.
Okay.
What that boils down to is you buy an ounce. It's $400 an ounce. And then, so you buy your 3 ounces, that's $1,200.
Okay.
And then with the concentrate allotment, you're allowed, it's about 5 syringes of Rick Simpson or full spectrum oil. That was what they're calling in the state, but it's Rick Simpson oil.
Yeah,
that's the guy who created it. Yeah, same difference. So that, those cost $100 a syringe. They're actually a little more than 100. I'm just doing 100 for easy math.
Well, sure, yeah.
So it's let's say you use the maximum allowed on your card. It's $1,700 a month.
Okay.
Right. So now we multiply that by 12 for the whole year.
Ooh.
So now we're going $20,400.
I mean, I just
$20,000 as a disabled vet.
Yeah, it's hard to wrap my brain around that. That anybody would think that makes sense, and that we have a program to call that a program, a medical program, $20,000. I mean, I just don't even see how that makes sense to anybody.
No, nobody can afford it. That's the thing, right? So unless you truly are an independently wealthy person, so in excess if you make over like $200,000 a year,
okay,
this is going to be a cost burden that is unachievable.
Right.
Like that. So you have to choose: do I want to pay my rent or do I want to have my medicine?
So when we passed medical and legislative did whatever they did, bless their hearts. They did
how they wrecked Measure 5. Not blessed it. The hell with them. They did a terrible job.
Yeah, they did.
Wrecked a measure that was going to help a lot of people. And now people have died that were part of Measure 5. Literally have died waiting for their medicine because the state legislature was too scared of something that's harmless.
So they said, okay, we'll make it available, but we're just going to make it so expensive that
they never did any cost controls in the whole process is the problem.
So they didn't even look at that.
No, they just went hands off. We're going to hire Acreage Holdings, which is a giant Canadian corporation.
Okay.
And then, who's the other one? The other one I can't bring it to my mind, but it's two major players in Canada's cannabis market. So in the world's largest legal cannabis market, it's two major players up there.
Okay.
Who are the ones who own the dispensaries in North Dakota. Okay. So on top of that, and then the grows are limited on how much they can grow. So let's go back to the dispensaries. So dispensaries are owned by multi-million-dollar multinational corporations.
Okay.
So it's nobody local.
All right.
So why do I, as a corporation, care about the vet that's up the street?
You don't.
Exactly. So why do I care about cross control for any of them? Because the only people that I have any commitment to is my fiduciary commitment to my stockholders.
Yeah, the bottom line.
Period. So so this is where you need government needs to protect the people from the corporations. That's why it exists. Okay. I mean, in this sense of the word, that's why it's there. So what the state legislature failed to do was to have a cost control. And if you're not going to allow us to have home grow, right?
Which allows the common person
to have a cost control. So, right?
To have some.
So it's easy. It's much easier to do a one-time $2,000 investment to set up your grow system in your home,
for sure,
rather than $2,000 every month to pay for your medicine.
Yeah, because you become self-sustaining. Then you don't have the burden, like you said. The cost burden is removed. Then you can live your life instead of going, how can I come up with a 2 G's this month?
And the other thing is let's say the constitutional amendment does go through in North Dakota, and we can grow and we can do all this stuff. ND Vets for Safe Access will then transition into a group that our job is we teach other vets how to grow their medicine effectively and supply those who can't afford the supplies with the supplies.
Yep, and that's beautiful. And that's where we should have always been. And the mindset of the legislators wasn't thinking that. So they destroyed the measure of medical that we wanted. They've kind of drugged their feet up till this point, showing no real true interest in humans, real humans that are suffering. So to trust them to come up with something else that we're going to like, I just don't trust them, to be honest. And I don't want to vote for people that have even been anywhere connected with this whole thing.
Well, I don't trust any of them, and part of that is there's lots of two-sidedness in politics.
Yeah.
And lots of backdoor dealings and stuff like that makes it part of it is frustrating, but part of it is you learn that this is the game you got to play.
Right. And I'm with you. So it's funny how I never really was big into voting, never really cared till Measure 3. And it's funny when my mindset going into this next voting process, how specific I'm going to be in all aspects. Because I know that back in the day, I must have trusted them to look out for me. And I know they're not. And the way they've messed up with the vets, which is a personal thing to me, that they've kind of they showed me they didn't care about people. And I'm done waiting for them. So a constitutional measure brings protection to consume and possess, and to be able to grow and teach and help others, isn't in the sentence when they talk.
It allows me to gift it. In that alone, right? So the current medical process, right? You can't even gift it. You can't gift it to another card holder. Like there's no, if you go and get your product from the dispensary, you cannot give your product to another person. Like technically, if you share a joint with somebody who also has a medical card, you're in violation. Technically. Now, I don't think that'll actually ever be like to that strictness of it enforced, but by the way it's written, that's technically a violation.
So what needs to happen? And we need to have constitutional right to grow and spread the love, essentially. And we've given them time, 2014 or whatever. They're just not going to do it.
It was 20. So the Measure 5 was passed in 2016.
Correct. Yeah. Okay.
And then the legislature, the Republicans in the legislature used their supermajority to say the people didn't know what they were voting for and decided they were going to protect the people from themselves.
That's right. House Bill 4001. One is something that legislators have came up with, and if we don't vote through this constitutional measure this run, they want...
You might not be able to.
Yeah, because here's what it is. 4001 House Bill is they want to have the ultimate say after the people hit the roads, do the work, get all the signatures, get it ready, then they want to decide whether or not they'll let it through or not. And it's constitutional amendments specifically, I read, that they're up against. So it's like, well, that's kind of suspicious. All of a sudden, all these different measures and people are trying to, get what they want because legislators don't seem to be working for us. And they're like, well, we'll just shut it down.
Do we know who the sponsors of House Bill 4001 are?
I don't know, but I'm going to be finding out here real soon. But until then, this hour of programming on KRFF 95.9 LPFM is being underwritten by Northland Vapor Company. Northland Vapor e-liquids are quality, not costly. They offer many smoking cessation options for all smokers looking to quit. Northland Vapor also offers a variety of CBD products ranging from capsules, tinctures, e-liquids, candies, gummies, flowers, as well as CBD coffees and teas. Northland Vapor Company has locations in Moorhead, South Fargo, and Bemidji, or visit them at www.northlandvapor.com. Northland Vapor Company's quality, not costly. So we got anything happening over there? So anyway, we are Indy for Freedom of Cannabis Act, constitutional measure. Get out there and sign the petition. We have them all over. We're going to be meeting at Tochi Products directly after this, but you can go to Smokey's House of Pipes, Orange Records, Sinkin Tochi Products, 46 and 2, Addictions Tattoo, and Bees Nest Tour, Bees Nest Art Studio. Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Talk to me about something.
All right, so it's boiling down to basically that Senate Resolution 4001 is completely Republican-sponsored, which, doesn't really surprise me in the way that the Republican mafia likes to operate the state legislature in North Dakota.
Okay.
But so the major players are Senator Haig, Dwyer, and Lee. Not Judy Lee, Gary Lee, G. Lee from out west.
Okay.
So it's not our West Fargo senator. It's the one from out western in the state.
Gotcha.
So it's Haig, Dwyer, and Lee, and then in the House of Representatives, surprise, it's Kim Koppelman.
Oh, Kim Koppelman. What does that mean for people?
So Kim Koppelman is from the western part of the state, and he is a pretty staunch prohibitionist, wants to make it pretty difficult for people to get
because at the end of the day, he's ignorant, right? That's what it is. It's ignorance.
I think it's just a fear-based thing, man. Honestly, so you don't go into a public service, unless you're crooked as all daylight, which, a few of them, I think, in the legislature are pretty, man, they crooked, they're so crooked, their back walks with a hook, but...
What he said.
But, most people don't go into public service like that out to harm others or to do whatever. They do it out of the generality because they feel that they could do what's best for the public, right? So the vast majority of them do try to do what they feel is right, and lots of the cannabis stuff is that we have legislatures that have been in office for 35 years who are still on the Nancy Reagan and the Nixon
absolutely
reefer madness garbage,
right?
So it's just and they just refuse to to look at any science. They're just going to go, the problem is with lots of them, especially people like Koppelman, are just, I believe this way, therefore it's bad. I refuse to acknowledge science. I refuse to look any, you know what I mean? Like, they just want to just, I've decided it's bad,
right.
Period.
Right, and that's worked for them up to this point. But youngsters, science, and other states. We start talking Illinois. We got Canada. We got Colorado. Like, it just keeps happening. Michigan. We're not regretting anything. We're moving along, And so I think legislators like Koppelman's going to wish he hadn't have been so close-minded, because I'm thinking this election period, people are, they're smartening up to the science.
Yeah, and the Senate resolution too is honestly, man, it seems like to me it's a power play by the people who've been in the legislature because everyone on that list who's the sponsors of the bill been there a long time.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, like, at least 10 years as a minimum of the people that have been on those lists.
Yeah, so they're scared and nervous about the people thinking.
People take away this power that's been granted to me.
Yeah, they're thinking on their own. How dare they think on their own and then come up with something they think is best, and then if one person disagrees, the legislator, all of a sudden it's us against them, when they should be working for us and with us.
Not against us.
So anyway, Chris Howell, thanks for coming in, buddy. It's been really cool. Our time here has came to an end. So, anything else you want to say?
Just to any vets out there, if you need help with your access to getting cannabis, or any of the listeners, if you guys want to make a donation, ND Vets for Safe Access is a group, and thank you very much. You can find access about us on the Freedom of Cannabis page.
Awesome.
Freedom of Cannabis Act page. And thank you very much.
Yeah, man.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You bet, man. And say, Chris Howell, thanks for coming in, sharing the whatever about the vets. And we need to get that money cost down. I mean, ain't nobody got 20 G's a year to make sure they don't kill somebody. But anyway, I wanted to mention the aquarium. We have the Fish Tank Rap Battles 2, Friday, February 14th. That's tomorrow. A Valentine's Day Rap Battle Massacre to crown the second Fish Tank champion, hosted by Cold Sweat with DJ AP and Vibe Corridors at 9. Lisa will be there as well with the petition. So go ahead, do your part, get that signed. January 17th, Witch Den, Demi Fiend, Green Altar, and El Supremo at the aquarium. And I actually think that's January 22nd now. So just disregard everything I just said. What is it? Oh, February 21st. That's right. February 21st. It's a heavy show. You want to get your Satan on, come on down to the aquarium. This has been Canna-Talk ND with Wilson. We have the show the meeting right after Tochi. We'll be at the mall from noon to 7 tomorrow. And get out and sign a petition. We've got a 46 and 2. Addictions Tattoo, Bee's Nest Tattoo and Art Supply, Orange Records, and Smokey's House of Pipes, and Tochi. Mellow mood to wrap it up. And again, I'm going to play here a song, and it's been great, and we'll see you guys on the other side.